Hello and welcome to the Civil Air Patrol Safety Assurance and Continuous Improvement module. This is your final module of the NSOC 2022 course. Congratulations, we're almost through. The entire concept of continuous improvement begins with the desire and commitment to improve. Regardless of the mission or activity, we want to do it successfully, efficiently, and safely. If there's room for improvement in the way we are doing it, we want to identify those areas and determine what we can do to improve. Once we take the action to improve, we want to see if our actions are effective. If they aren't as effective as we'd like, we determine why and take further action to improve. It is a continuous process. This is the context for everything we do in safety. Let's look at the process together and review some of the steps and actions that you can take to help support the safety management system. Safety cannot be solved. There is no single final solution to any safety issue. No matter how thorough you are, you will never be able to remove all risk or put controls in place that will cover every eventuality. This is why risk management must be a continuous process to control risk. Likewise, safety assurance provides processes and tools we can methodically use to make sure we are continuously improving our risk controls and daily processes. If you want to remember one thing today, remember safety and risk management are a process. There are lots of acceptable methods for going through the continuous improvement process. An entire civilian industry has grown around the concept of defining, branding, selling, and teaching methods for continuous improvement. Air Force Instruction 1-2 states, continuous process improvement is a hallmark of highly successful organizations. Wasteful, ineffective, or unsafe ways of doing business cannot be tolerated. Commanders must foster a culture of innovation and challenge inefficiencies. A process for identifying and fixing deficiencies should be established and followed. Commanders should strive to leave their unit better than they found it. The CAP safety management system shares this commitment to continuous improvement. We have attempted to take industry standard processes, gleaned some common methods from each, and melded them into a few easy to understand CAP standard approaches to continuous improvement. CAP pamphlet 163 highlights two of those methods that we use in this process. The five-step process of risk management outlined in CAP Regulation 160-1, Chapter 3, is designed to reduce risk, but it can also be a very effective problem-solving and planning tool. Faced with a mission or activity we want to pursue, we ask ourselves how we can effectively accomplish that mission while minimizing the risks. Once you determine the scope and goals of the event and come up with a basic plan, you can use the 5 steps of risk management to help determine how to successfully complete the event. To put it in very simple terms, risk management allows you to ask what can go wrong with this plan. Then it guides you through the process of determining what can I do to keep it from going wrong. Finally, throughout the event and after the event is complete, it guides you through the process of determining how effective you have been in reducing risk and keeping things from going wrong. Remember, when you set out to improve, you don't solve, you evolve. First, let's look at the plan, do, check, adjust model. The 5 steps of risk management lend themselves to the planning phases of a mission or activity, then provide guidance on how to assess and improve the effectiveness of risk controls. Most of the other problem-solving tools in safety assurance are best suited to existing programs or processes, allowing us to look at why our process might not be working as well as intended. The goal in all of these tools is continuous improvement. Step 1 of the PDCA model is to plan. This step is the most important and most time-consuming step of the process. Regardless of the problem you're trying to solve or the process you're trying to improve, it is imperative that you take the time to fully define the problem at hand before you can determine the improvements that need to be made. Follow these steps to ensure your plan results in the improvement that you desire. There are a couple of fundamental questions that need to be answered before you get started. What are we trying to accomplish? What is it you are trying to fix? What is the end game for the process you are trying to improve? This might be anything from reducing a certain type of mishap to expanding the size or length of your activity while controlling risks. What is the scope of the effort? As you examine your process or area for improvement, limit your plan to the things that you can control. For example, if you're using the PDCA process at the squadron level, you should limit your goals to improving squadron level processes. However, make note of those higher echelon restrictions or barriers that you might want to point out to leadership. All levels of the organization can and should benefit from grassroots efforts to improve. Even when the PDCA model is used on issues at the national level, the team must work within constraints of the laws and policies that control those efforts. We also need to examine the current process. Before you can determine what is wrong with a current process or why things just don't work as smoothly as you would like in a certain program or activity, you need to fully understand how the current process works or is supposed to work. What is the current plan? Is it written down or is it just something that you do based on common knowledge and experience? What written guidance is there that might apply to the mission or activity? How do you actually do it? Sometimes the way you perform a mission or complete an activity doesn't necessarily follow the plan. Shortcuts or workarounds can develop over time. Gather your team and map out how you really get the job done. Where does your current process fall short of your goals? That will help you define the problem. When we ask what the problem is, take the current process you mapped in the previous step, compare it to the goals that you set. You're likely to see differences between the way you want it to be done and the way it is currently being done. Figure out what is causing those differences, and you will be able to determine exactly what it is you need to fix. To help in that process, you can use some of the root cause analysis techniques outlined in CAP Pamphlet 163. Design your plan of action. A good team will be able to do quite a bit and come up with quite a few options for how to fix or improve on the areas you identified. It is important to select the most promising and most cost-effective solutions for your plan of action. Trying to do too much all at once with limited resources can frustrate your efforts and leave you short of your goal. You need to develop your plan. The plan must be specific about the tasks to be performed, responsibilities for those tasks, approval authorities for implementing the plan, the timeline for implementing the plan, and how you're going to measure the success of the plan. This is where you outline a step-by-step plan on what you will change and how you will change it. Don't forget to communicate the plan and educate members on what is changing. Your plan needs to build the team that will get it done. Next is the development of measures of effectiveness. One of the most overlooked parts of continuous improvement is the effort to make sure the improvements you have put in place are actually working. If you've done a good job of defining exactly what you want to accomplish, it should be relatively easy to determine how you will measure the success. Part of the process is to make sure the improvements you put in place are working as designed and determine if they are effective. Step 2 in the model is to do. This is the most straightforward step. If you've done a thorough job in the plan step, the do step is as easy as putting the plan in motion and gathering the data you need to measure the effectiveness of the plan. Remember that every new plan will need some oversight to make sure each step of the plan goes according to schedule. However, it is important to remember that part of what you are checking is how well the plan is communicated and how well it is understood. Once it's in place, the plan needs to stand on its own. Make observations and gather data so you can use your MOEs to judge the success of your efforts. Step 3 is to check. Once the plan has been in place for a predetermined period, it is time to assess its effectiveness. Look at the data you gathered during the do step. Use your measures of effectiveness to answer a few important questions. Did your changes result in an improvement? If so, how much? Are the changes sustainable? Were they cost effective? Did any of the changes have unintended consequences? Did anything get worse? If changes were effective, did you see ways they could be adjusted so they are easier to understand, so they would be easier to do, or so that they would make an even greater improvement? The last and final step in the model is to adjust. This is the step that defines continuous improvement. You worked hard to develop a plan to make an improvement, then put it in place and measure its effectiveness. Now you can improve on your improvement plan based on how well it worked. You may find that the plan itself needs adjustment, or the way the plan is explained needs adjustment, or you need to improve the training that goes along with the plan. Those types of adjustments are normal. This final step in the plan makes it a continuous process. Pick a time down the road to come back and use the same measures of effectiveness to assess whether your plan fits the current operations or landscape. Make adjustments and make the commitment to continuously reassess, adjust, and improve. The corrective action process is the next model that's discussed in the CAP pamphlet 163. It's probably my favorite just because of the similarities with the mishap review process. The International Organization for Standards has developed a widely used process for reviewing and solving quality control problems. These corrective action steps are very similar to the PDCA process. And like I said, you'll also note some similarities to the CAP mishap reviews, where we use some of the same techniques to find the contributing factors and recommend corrective actions. Some members may find this process easier to use as it breaks out the numerous steps of the plan part of PDCA and provides an easy 7-step problem-solving process. Step 1 of the process is to define the problem. The steps for defining the problem are similar to the steps laid out in PDCA. It is still important to go through the process of determining what you want your outcome to be and comparing that with what might be wrong with the current process. What is it you want to improve to better achieve your goal? A good way to word your problem statement to make sure you have adequately defined it is to say, this is how the process currently works, and this is how the process should work. Step 2 is to define the scope. As described in a similar PDCA step, it is important to limit your efforts to those things which you can control. It is easy to let the scope get out of hand as members of the team add on other related issues that need to be addressed. Make sure you keep your efforts focused on a problem you have the time and resources to solve. It's better to focus on one issue and improve it rather than let the scope grow too large, resulting in falling short of your goals. Step 3 is containment actions. As you begin the process of defining the problem, you may find that you need to make an immediate correction to stop the problem from occurring now. If, for example, you have an issue with unexplained malfunctions in a particular type of aircraft, your best course of action may be to ground those aircraft until you can fully define the problem. This is like to call knock it off, described in the CAP risk management training. You can also think of this as the put out a fire step. Get the situation under control immediately so you will have time to take a thorough look. There will be plenty of time to analyze the situation and properly define the problem once the immediate situation is under control and everyone is safe. Too often we are crippled in our mishap reviews with asking one why. Why did this happen? Well, Billy did it, so let's punish Billy. Why? Well, Billy's a jerk. Why? Billy didn't follow the rules. Now we're getting somewhere. Why? He's a friend of the commander and the commander has favorites. No one enforces the rules. The rules are hard to enforce because we don't get good training from national, etc. Step 4 in the process is to find the root cause. Root cause is a term that is widely used but not always understood. The fallacy in the idea of finding the root cause is that there is rarely, if ever, a single root cause for any mishap or event. In short, root cause analysis helps you go from knowing what happened to knowing how it happened, then continuing to investigate until you find out why it happened. Then and only then will you be able to take corrective action that will prevent this type of event from occurring again. The web is full of companies selling week-long courses and elaborate matrices to teach a person all about root cause analysis. For our problem-solving purposes, we can keep it relatively simple, and I would recommend that you review the root cause process in CAP Pamphlet 163. Step 5 is to plan the corrective action. This is very similar to the design your plan of action step in the PDCA process. If you methodically work to find your root causes, you probably identified numerous areas where improvements could be made and some specific recommendations to address the root causes you found. Trying to fix everything at once will probably lead to frustration. So it's important to prioritize your recommendations, focusing on the corrective actions that will provide the best results with the greatest impact based on cost, effort, and time. Remember, you will need to come up with a plan for measuring the effectiveness of the corrective action. Those measures should include how well the corrective action is understood by your members, how you can ensure it is being used correctly, and whether it was successful in correcting or improving the situation you identified as a root cause. Step 6 is to implement the corrective action. This is the same as the do step in the plan, do, check, adjust process. It is as simple as following through to make sure the corrective action is implemented as planned and monitored using the measures of effectiveness you developed. Step 7 is to follow up. This is the key to the continuous improvement process. This is where your measures of effectiveness are important. Did your plan work the way you expected? If it didn't work according to plan, then you adjust it. If it did work, then benchmark it, share it, and see if it will help others in similar situations. A key element of all the continuous improvement processes we've discussed is the final step where you assess the effectiveness of the initiatives or your fixes you put in place. If those improvements aren't as good as you thought they'd be, you can improve them. Well-constructed measures of effectiveness will help you determine if they are working, how well they are working, and where you could use some adjustments. If you did a good job coming up with the specific changes or fixes or safety initiatives to address the problem, it should be relatively easy to measure how well they are working. When you're developing the MOEs, remember that your measurements should be both quantitative as well as qualitative. For help on creating measures of effectiveness, review CAP Pamphlet 163. The last thing I want to talk about is the commander's role. Your role as a safety officer is to help the commander understand the safety management system and help them understand the importance of their active role in the process. Like so many other programs and processes within CAP, commanders don't need to be the process experts, and they don't need to lead each of the improvement efforts. However, members need to see their commander's commitment to improvement and their support of the processes that bring that improvement. Commanders can and should steer their members toward the continuous improvement processes in CAP Pamphlet 163. If a member approaches and says they have an idea on how to improve something, the commander could ask, "What's the problem?" By asking what problem that idea is meant to solve, they can steer the members toward the PDCA or corrective action steps of defining the problem, then developing and implementing solutions. Remember that their idea might help point out a problem, but you may find their idea isn't the best solution. Our members love a challenge. They work as a team and they succeed. Challenge them to improve something that needs improving. Form a team of those affected by the issue that you've chosen. Let them keep you updated on their progress and applaud their success no matter how small. In this case, the goal is as simple as starting the process so it can become contagious and continuous. The goal of the Safety Assurance pillar of SMS and of CAP Pamphlet 163 is to provide CAP-wide institutionalized approach to risk management and continuous improvement that allows our member experts to work together to find lasting solutions through common processes. Congratulations on completing the final module of NSOC 2022. We hope that this course has provided you with the knowledge and tools necessary to effectively and efficiently perform in your safety role. We look forward to working with each of you to continue to develop and improve the safety program, ensuring that our members can experience a fun, safe environment while meeting all of our mission requirements. Thanks, and have a great, safe day.